Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Live League. How's it going, guys? My name is Ken Garofalo. We have Bentuan27 with us, and we have a special guest with us today calling in from his mobile phone, so bear with us if there's any audio issues. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Vince. Vince, how you doing? Vince F. I'm going to just call you Vince F because your last name is a little hard to pronounce. Why don't you give us the pronunciation on the last name, Vince? Can you hear me, Vince? Okay. So I believe it's Fertulo, but we're going to introduce Vince because he has been really active in the Tezos community of recent. He has introduced a new platform called XTZNews. He's working with some other members in the community to bring this project to light. So first, Vince, if you just wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of your background. I know you posted recently that you actually left your corporate job of 4.5 years to pursue your passion, which is this new project, this XTZNews project. So give me a little bit about your background. What were you doing before you left that corporate job? What was that corporate job all about? And how about some education history?
Yeah, sure. So I went to Penn State University, and that's where I did my undergraduate studies, where I studied telecom and IT. I went on to work for a Fortune 200 company in the aerospace industry, where I've spent all of my time since I graduated college in 2016. I identified a major gap in the industry and have been trying to tackle that gap, over the last several weeks, and kind of just came to the conclusion that in order to execute the things that I want to do and accomplish, that I needed to leave the corporate world. So super scary, super crazy kind of thing to do, but it's the decision I made, and it's kind of what my life is currently in 2020.
Very cool. And before we hop into the next question, I just want to announce today's sponsor. So today's sponsor is Block Relations, Public Relations, Marketing, and Technology Innovation. I'm going to play a short clip from them, and then we're going to hop right back into it, Vince. Awesome. Thank you very much there, Block Relations. Be sure to check that out at Block Relations. All right. So Vince, you've really seemed to take a liking to Tezos, and the Tezos community has taken a liking to you. So maybe you can just explain to us a little bit here, what piqued your interest in Tezos and why are you pursuing XTZNews with so much passion?
Yes, sure. So, like many other people, the thing that, really stood out to me, as I started researching, both smart contracts and just blockchains in general, was the governance piece of Tezos, and really that is a key component of obviously what makes it so unique, right? And I started looking into it more and more, right? And when you see really kind of how excited people are getting about just both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I have nothing negative to say about either one of those chains. I think they're both great for different reasons. People aren't digging another layer deep, and people aren't going to like the next okay, like what's after that? What does that mean, right? And what I have really tried to focus on, both with my research and then over the last year and some change, and then now is not what's going on now, but like what is the world going to look like 2, 3, 5, 10, 12 years from now, and what is the technology, and what are the what is the chain that is going to drive the most innovation, and I believe that's Tezos.
Yeah. So Vince, this is Benton here. I have a quick question. You mentioned the governance model of Tezos, and the great Wayne Gretzky once said, "Don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going." What do you see in this governance model with Tezos that really sticks out to you, and think that this could be part of the future evolutions of blockchains?
Yeah, so you cut out there a little bit. I got like the beginning and the end. I didn't get a direct question just because of my connection.
Yeah, no worries. So what I asked was just, what is it that really stuck out to you in regards to the governance model of Tezos?
Yes, I mean, I I just think it makes logical sense. I just think when you look at, look at how, Ethereum's transitioning, right, to Ethereum 2.0, and such a large process and such a large fundamental, aspect of that is moving to proof of stake, right? And what, what's the established proof of stake blockchain? It's Tezos, right? Like it's not super it's super complex, right? When you really think about it, but what we're talking about, these are facts. These aren't like super, complex things. When you talk about what the actual state of the technology is and what the current roadmap is, right? I mean, and it's going to take years. It's going to take years for Ethereum to successfully transition to proof of stake. And I think it will happen. I think it's something that, is going to occur. But like to me, it doesn't make much logical sense to, focus all of my time and attention there when, there's projects like Tezos that already have proof of stake running smoothly and logically and, part of the key, governance structure.
So staying on that topic, Vince, I just want to remind the audience watching here that you can ask questions. We can pull your questions right up on screen and answer them for you. So if you have those questions, ask them in any of the chat sections of where you're watching this video now. But staying on the proof of stake topic, Vince, with ETH 2.0 getting nearly $1 billion worth of Ethereum deposited in their lockups that they're required to sort of transition to the next phase, do you think that is going to attract more of a mainstream audience to the concept of staking and proof of stake? Whereas
smart contracts,
right. So do you think this is going to actually attract more of a mainstream audience into the concept of proof of stake, what ETH 2.0 is doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. I mean, I think that's a great question. I think the answer is clearly yes. I mean, what the thing with technological adoption curves that people don't really understand or think about is that like so much of the curve comes at the end, and so much of the curve is based on following things that are proven and established, even if it's like just seeing one example. Human beings really have a hard time adapting without seeing someone else do it first, right? So I think, like I said, I don't have any issues with Ethereum. I think, Ethereum's really, really awesome. But I think, just like you said, it's going to kind of open the realms of possibility in terms of, people actually understanding, some of these concepts. Like if you say, the term proof of stake, you're going to be hard pressed to find someone who understands what you're talking about that's not already ingrained in the terminology, right? Like you can't just go up to someone at a coffee shop and say proof of stake, and a lot of times even the word governance, in the applications that we're talking about, and expect that they're going to know what you're talking about. I think 5, 10, 15 years from now, that's going to be very different.
Yeah. So Vince, I wanted to touch on some of the upcoming episodes that you have for XTZNews. Why don't you walk us through some of the guests that you have lined up? I saw in episode 1, looks like you have Dave Hendricks, and you guys are going to be talking about the future of real estate. What is XTZ really trying to accomplish, and what are you trying to get done here with XTZNews?
Yeah, so I mean that's a very large question, and I can only kind of answer part of that now because there's different phases for this, but I'll kind of back up a little bit. Sure. And I'll kind of start on what our focus is on now, right, and kind of some longer term road mapping stuff. I mean, between now and mid-year 2021, I basically have a 3-stage roadmap in terms of the website itself. So there'll be an initial launch period, something I'm going to call, beta or V0, or, however you prefer to look at it. But it's going to be a very bare bones, version of the site. It'll have written articles. It'll have, a prelude to what the podcast is going to be. It'll have a team section that'll explain, all of the team. It'll have a way to get in contact. And also, if you want to learn more and possibly get involved, it'll have, something for that. It'll have an email newsletter. Just bare bones functionality to get live, and then we're hoping to have that week 3, week 4 December, really just before Christmas is the larger goal, right? But that would really just be the framework, and really, like I said, the beta version to something much larger, right? So two large updates that would basically be complete overhauls in terms of both content and organizational structure, and just everything that's on the site, right? And I can't really speak to too much of that any more than that, but from a structural and timeline perspective, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. In terms of the show, I will be launching a show, called XTZ TV, which you can find, if you go to my handle, which is just my name, Vince Ferraiuolo. I mean, I don't know if they can drop it in here. The pin tweet is the first 6 episodes for the show, and lots of cool topics. I mean, everything, and really think bridging these gaps between traditional markets and industries that people do understand, and connecting the dots of who are these people, and what are these projects, and what are these innovative things that are going on within the Tezos ecosystem that incorporate these different tools, topics, or industries. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Now, I guess one of your goals, though, is it more going to be educational, or is it going to be more like kind of grabbing that general audience and bringing them into that Tezos ecosystem?
Both. I mean, I'll say, educating people on how to use different tools and applications is definitely, part of our roadmap. But also just quality and informative news that, people can trust, and people want to read, and people want to listen to, and doing so in a way that, if someone, just wants to get an email once a week, they can consume it that way. If someone wants to, follow our Twitter constantly, they can do it that way. If someone just wants to listen to a conversation I have with someone on a particular topic, and they don't even necessarily care about all the other stuff, they can do that, right? So, and any other amount of interaction in between, and it's really, up to the audience to, choose what is successful,
Absolutely. And Vince, I'm really pleased that you agreed to have me on the show in one of these episodes here. I believe it's episode 4. I'll be coming on and be, explaining more about what we're up to at Block Relations. And hopefully at that time, I can reveal some of the plan that we have developed with my team in Block Relations on how to onboard the next 1,000 Tezos developers. So some really cool, exciting plans that we have in the pipeline that we hope we are able to execute on. And we hope that the approval goes through for our process there. So look forward to coming on that show. You also have an upcoming show, an appearance on T-Quorum, where you and Claude Bard are going to be featured as community winners and community contributors. You want to give us a little bit of insight on what that show is going to feature and what you plan on basically going on there and talking about?
You broke up there a little bit at the end.
Oh, no, yeah. If you want to just talk a little bit about, your upcoming episode with T-Quorum, what will you be discussing with Claude Bird?
Yeah, so tomorrow, really excited for that. So definitely check that out if that's something you want to learn more about. But I'll be kind of diving in to my project and my initiative, just a layer deeper, right? But still, similar to some of the stuff we're talking about now. Really both the two of us, recognized by Tezos Commons for, our individual contributions in the space, right? I know he has, done some awesome work, in the development space, and it's been really cool to, connect with him, and I'm excited to even possibly, bring him on the show later on, right? So it's always awesome to make those connections, and then really just, talking about, what led us here, right? What led us to this point, and what led us to the point that, regardless of someone else, telling us that this is your job, knowing that you got to do something to help the entire globe move forward,
Absolutely. And I was wondering maybe if you had any insights or opinions on the latest core protocol upgrade we saw, Delphi, which ended up reducing gas fees by over 75% in an effort to help attract DeFi to the Tezos ecosystem. Do you think that this is a successful movement, and does this reflect on the ability that Tezos has to upgrade itself that gives it a clear advantage over the competitors?
Yes, I mean, 100%. It actually blows my mind that these sorts of like upgrades are not talked about more, because they're a really big deal, and they're also a huge part of what makes this technology so innovative, right? If you've had the chance to interact with smart contracts, and you've been in the weeds of this stuff and done it, whether it's creating NFTs, or lending and borrowing, or just like just making decentralized swaps. I mean, anything, right? It costs a lot of money to do it on Ethereum right now. Like it is not, it is not efficient. It's not scalable. It's not. You can't expect a billion people to interact with code if it costs $20 to interact with it, and not actually do a lot, right? So I think the fact that the chain is already looking at issues that other larger chains are having, and like addressing them now, not addressing them like when the issue comes, but addressing them now, like that's what makes it so exciting, right? That's what makes it so cool, is that instead of waiting till the issue comes and then plugging the hole, it's kind of like we're building this ship, and we're seeing these old ships that are falling apart, and we're grabbing a new piece that's 20 times stronger than the old ship part, before our ship even sinks.
Yeah, so quick question for you, Vince, just kind of DeFi related to Tezos. What do you envision being some of the biggest hurdles for the Tezos ecosystem, bringing on more kind of core dev teams into that DeFi environment?
I think there's a few. I think education is a big thing, right? And like I come from a very unique background where most people who are involved in most the vast majority of circumstances, people get enter either into Bitcoin or Ethereum, or Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then they look at other stuff after. That was very much not my entry. Like my entry was straight to Tezos, and straight to smart contracts, and straight to proof of stake, before I even necessarily fully understood proof of work properly. Like I went straight to proof of stake. So my mindset is very different, right? And my experience, because of that, I kind of have this inside out understanding and approach than compared to most people, right? So that alone shifts the narrative, right? And it shifts kind of how my brain works, right? But I hope that all makes sense. I really think a lot of it is going to be properly educating people, and finding the way to connect these dots that just have not been connected before. And people, you can, if you really are involved, you can see all the different incredible things that are being built and being done. But if no one properly communicates it, then the world's not going to know.
That's entirely true. And, with my company's Block Relations and with Crypto Live League here, we have a strong focus on education. That's the main component, of what we plan on doing and what we do currently. And I also suggest any other firm or person that participates in this ecosystem look to education to add as a piece of what they're doing, right? So even if you're not an educational company, you still want to be able to educate your audience to not only use your products, but maybe the other products that coexist with what you're doing. So education is key, right? We've established that. So what I want to do now is just want to take a little bit of these questions from the audience and see if we can get a response here. Doesn't look like we have too many tough questions to ask here or to answer. So I'm just going to bring up the first one here. So this is from Jorge Mersudo, and he's just speculating on the price of XTZ. Will the prices go higher in the near future? Without trapping you and answering that question, what are your speculative answer for the price in the near future?
At the moment, I'm gonna kind of not talk about price.
Okay, no worries.
At the time being, I just don't believe it's an area that I want to focus on, and it's not really a topic that I think is very value added.
Yeah, I mean, Jorge, one thing I'll add for you there is we have seen Tezos reach prices XTZ of I think it was over $4 in this past summer, and now it's sort of cooled off a bit, coming down around 230 or so. So as Bitcoin approaches the all-time high of 20K, I am sure that we will see similar trends that we saw in 2017. So without any more speculation added to the conversation here, we'll leave it at that. So the next question here comes from Joseph Weeks. So this is more of a comment, but he believes Tezos is a sleeping giant, and it is poised to do big things once more people realize the potential and the wider adoption begins to take root. So the question, I guess, would be, why do we think Tezos is a sleeping giant when it's been around for 3 years? Why is it still sleeping? Why hasn't it woken up yet?
So, okay, I'll answer that, because I like your question there, because I think that's actually a good question. Because, okay, I think that question's actually so perfect, because the one thing that I've seen just as a mindset constantly in the cryptocurrency space is because of how fast everything moves and how innovative the space is, when stuff doesn't move like lightning, people are confused and people don't know what's going on, and it doesn't make sense to them. 3 years is nothing. 3 years is no amount of time. In my viewpoint, 3 years almost doesn't mean anything, right? To most people, right? So I know on the other hand, we just talked about, I was at my job for, almost 5 years, and me walking away from that was a big deal because it is. But at the same, let's just talk about, okay, so what's the future of my life going to be, right? Till maybe I die when I'm 100. That 4.5 years, is only a small sliver of the whole pie. I'm going to say it's the same exact thing for the Tezos ecosystem. When you look at, take some time and do some research on Bitcoin and the first, 3 years of Bitcoin, or anything, cell phones, the internet, anything. It takes time. It just takes time. It is not the way adoption curves are. It is not, even if it makes logical sense. A lot of people can't see things until other people show them. It's just how the world works.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that answer. And speaking of showing things, the second part of today's show, I wanted to really bring Dexter, which is the decentralized exchange for Tezos, into view here. So for all those who follow Tezos Commons and know that I co-host the show Tez Talks, we will be interviewing Tyler, the founder of Dexter and Magma Wallet on Thursday. You can follow Tezos Commons for more information on that. But today I just want to give a brief showing of what Dexter actually looks like, how to exchange XTZ for a different asset, and how to deposit liquidity into one of the liquidity pools on Dexter. So feel free to comment. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this since you're on the cell phone there, Vince, but I'll sort of give you a play-by-play as I go along the process here. So I'm just pulling Dexter onto the screen.
I think, like I said, I'm gonna. I think this is probably a good place for me to hop off. I know exactly what you're gonna go through, and I think it's awesome you're doing it. I want to thank you for letting me come on with you guys, and I'm really excited to bring you on my podcast as well, and I look forward to doing that with you, Ken.
Excellent, Vince. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We really enjoyed gaining your insights, and we're going to look forward to seeing those episodes come out and more releases from you as the days come. So thanks again, Vince. Take care until next time. And for anyone that has more questions for Vince, you can, of course, find him on Twitter. I will just put the link to his Twitter profile up there now. That is at Vince Ferraiuolo. Sorry if I mispronounced it.
It's Ferraiuolo.
Ferraiuolo. There we go. Vince Ferraiuolo, guys. Thanks again, Vince.
All right.
Take care, man.
Cheers.
All right, Benton, let's bring this home here. So for the audience watching, This is what Dexter looks like. This is the equivalent of Uniswap on Tezos. And it is very limited at this point because there are not a lot of assets, trading on Tezos, not a lot of FA2 standard assets that have been created yet. But I'm going on here now. So what I'm going to do is you can link either a Beacon or a Thanos wallet to this decentralized exchange. You can connect it similar to how you can connect your MetaMask wallet to Uniswap, right? So what I found is Thanos is actually the best wallet to use here. I had some issues connecting Beacon using a Ledger connection. So I went with Thanos. It was a one-step, click the button, connect your wallet. And you'll see here I have a few XTZ in the wallet. And all I'm going to do, Benton, this looks familiar to you, right? It's just, you're exchanging one XTZ. You can put a different asset here of what you want to exchange it into. So the options are TZ, BTC, or USD TZ, right? So I believe actually Kevin Marabi is responsible for this USD TZ. And he's going to be a great guest to have on the show at some point here in the coming future as well to talk more about his stablecoin products. But for this example, let's exchange one XTZ into USDTZ. You'll see the rate here. You'll see that it's nearly no slippage. I believe there is actually an estimated slippage of 0.3%. You'll see that on the bottom there. So if it is higher than 0.3%, say it goes to, say we wanted to do, let's say, 1,000. You'll see here the estimated slippage is 2.67%. This slippage is all due to the amount of liquidity that's deposited in the pools that we'll show in a second here. The more liquidity that's in those pools, the less slippage that large orders will have on this DEX. So that's important to note. We're still in the early beginning of the kind of liquidity that exists within these pools. So again, for the example, one XTZ into USD Tez, all you do is click this button, exchange. You'll see something pops up here. Little operation command, you just click confirm.
And real quick, so USDTZ is a wrapped stablecoin version of like a Tether or USDC kind of thing, right?
Correct. Yeah. And
okay.
I believe Tezos.finance is the website that you can learn more about what actually goes into the collateral pools for USDTZ. But from what I understand, it is actual XTZ being deposited and minting of USDTZ happens once that deposit happens.
Okay.
And I believe you can reach out directly on that website or to Kevin Marabi for more information if you wanted to, say, mint some USDTZ yourself, or you wanted to place a large order more so than you can get on this decentralized exchange here. You can reach out to Kevin. So you'll see here there was a pending transaction. It is now confirmed on the blockchain. So now I can see here under the recent transactions section, 2 transactions, one I did before we went live and one we just did here live. So now I hold some XTZ and some USDTZ. So what I'm going to do, also this, just to note, this exchange has a really cool light mode, dark mode to it. So whatever you prefer, some cool graphic there, UI graphic. So we're going to get into the liquidity pool now. So this is familiar, right, Benton? So from we love liquidity pools. And I want to, remember Uni, how it just got airdropped to everyone that deposited. I mean, that was like a stimulus check, right? That was worth like,
that was awesome.
$3,000, $4,000 at one point per wallet.
Yeah. I remember waking up and I was like, what is this Uni coin in my wallet? And why is it all of a sudden worth $4 per Uni? And then I was like, this is great. This was the Uni stimulus that we all needed.
Right. So keep that in mind. So Dexter could do the same thing, right? They could come out with their own FA2 standard token and end up rewarding the early members of this platform that deposited liquidity, with each specific wallet address. So for me, maybe I want to game the system. Maybe I want to create 100 or 1,000 different wallet addresses and deposit little bits of liquidity to these pools in each different address with the prospect down the line that, hey, you might get, a Tezos stimulus check, so to say, right?
Hey, I'm going through some comments here through the audience. It looks like Kryptonia would like us to touch on impermanent loss. As many people probably don't understand. It looks like Joseph Weeks also says PayPal is bringing crypto to the forefront for a lot of people since they announced their support of crypto transactions last month. Is Tezos looking to coordinate and capitalize with any mainstream partners to get in front of more crypto virgins? Those are all good questions. Ken, what are your thoughts first about impermanent loss and trying to unpackage that for the audience?
Impermanent loss. I don't even know if I can get into that. I don't even know what that is. Let me just do a quick.
It's a good. I've heard of it. I want to say it has to do with something like the deflationary aspect of Tezos, where it's like a tool or mechanism that is used inside the Tezos ecosystem. I feel like I've read about it before, but okay. Kryptonio, elaborate for us, man.
That is a great question by Kryptonio there. So what I think this is when you deposit liquidity into these pools, and you're going to get a liquidity pool token back for whatever you deposit. It's going to show you a ratio. So let me show you right here. So if I go the max amount of USDTZ, you'll see it matches an equal value of XTZ. So you'll see here it's both equaling 226 in USD value, right? And now I'm going to get back an amount of 996,620 liquidity pool tokens, right? By adding liquidity. So I'm hitting the button, I'm clicking confirm. So what this does, it gives me a representation of a percentage of the pool. All right. So in order to get what I've deposited back, I actually have to remove the liquidity by sending back these liquidity pool tokens. But this impermanent loss can happen when that liquidity is removed, right? So you could actually receive back less value of USDTZ and XTZ from what you initially deposited. Okay. And what I believe the cause of this is because other people have removed liquidity before you have. So at this point, since I've made this deposit, right, it's currently pending on the blockchain. If I wait another month and let's say 99% of liquidity has been removed from this pool and my amount is the only thing left, when I go to remove my liquidity, I'm going to receive less of a value in USDTZ and XTZ than when I initially deposited. I think this also works in the opposite direction, where if more people are depositing liquidity after you deposit liquidity, when you go ahead and remove liquidity, you may receive more of a value back than what you initially deposited.
I see.
So there is risk associated with depositing liquidity into these pools. And this is what we saw happen with the rug pulls in the degen liquidity pool mining schemes that were going on recently, right? So everyone was rushing to add liquidity to these pools so they could get the LP token and deposit it in yield farms and get rewarded with these new tokens. However, a market scare would happen while you're sleeping. You'd wake up and all the liquidity had been removed from these pools that you initially deposited liquidity to. So when you went to, you obviously you'd want to remove your liquidity at that point. It was a rug pull, right? For instance, well, now you're going to get back less than what you initially deposited in that liquidity pool when you're removing liquidity. So you actually end up losing, quite a lot of value from what you initially deposited. So there is a huge amount of risk associated with this, but you can study the trends of these liquidity pools. And let's see, pool data. I believe there is going to be a coming announcement from these guys. I don't want to ruin it here now, so you can watch the episode of Tez Talks live on Thursday to get more information from Tyler, the creator behind Dexter, in regards to pool data. But you should be able to study the trends and see basically, is the liquidity coming or going out of this pool? Is it sort of stabilized, to kind of analyze what kind of risk you're taking by adding liquidity to these pools. So you'll see here the transaction is successful. I can now view my pool tokens here. It's actually quite a lot of pool tokens. I don't know why this ratio is so wild like that. I only deposited about $5 worth of value, and I got back nearly 1 million of these pool tokens. So that's kind of interesting. But if I go to this pool data section, I can see here pooled tokens, right? So in the XTZ TZ BTC pair, you got about 100,000 XTZ deposited with about 11 TZ BTC deposited. So that's about $200,000, more than 200,000. So probably $500,000 in value deposited in that pool. And it looks like you have about half of that in the XTZ USTZ pool. So about $250,000. Now that would lead me to believe you got less than $1 million total value locked in these pools. So TVL, right? That's a term that we see often in the Ethereum DeFi space, used to measure sometimes the value of a governance token associated with projects. So TVL. So this is still, you got to realize, this is still just, a raindrop compared to the lake or the ocean that Ethereum is in terms of DeFi and liquidity that's been locked in these protocols. So still very early. So I think knowing that, there's probably less risk to add liquidity to these pools than there would be to a traditional maybe an ETH/DAI pair pool on Uniswap.
Yeah. And to answer Joseph's question, is Tezos looking to coordinate and capitalize with any mainstream partners? I mean, I haven't really had my ear to the ground with the Tezos ecosystem. Ken, have you heard any rumblings about any kind of future partnerships that may make some waves in the space?
I will say that I am unaware of any business development specific teams that currently exist within the ecosystem. However, today's sponsor is Block Relations. It's my other company, and we have a focus on business development specifically within the Tezos ecosystem, and we are pending a plan to execute on that. And this would be the exact type of business development that we would be tackling if approved. So again, that's pending. I don't want to speak too much on it. Nothing's been approved to this point, but we have spent months creating this plan that would onboard the next 1,000 Tezos developers and have the ability for our company to do business development deals on behalf of Tezos. So something exciting to look forward to. Maybe I'll be able to go into more details when I go on Vince's show there and talk about Block Relations. So at this point, Joseph, I'm sorry I'm not aware, but there could be some good things coming down the line here. So liquidity that is left. Okay. Oh, so Kryptonio, it looks like I answered your question there. So that was good on impermanent loss. So good answer. All right. So we've added liquidity. We've showed how to exchange on Dexter. This is pretty easy, guys. I think, there's a lot of opportunity here to possibly earn Dexter's FA2 token if they decide to issue one, like Uni issued its own token on Uniswap. So think about that, guys. Let's get these liquidity pools up. I want to see more than $1 million TVL. I want to see this approach, half a billion, right? That's where we should be. I also want to see more tokens listed on this exchange. Why do we only have 2 FA2 tokens now? Let's get these developers out there. Let's get them making more tokens. Maybe that's an educational issue, right? So, Claude Bard, the other member that we mentioned, who's kind of like a locally famous Tezos developer, has a lot of tutorials out there on how to make your own FA2 standard token. I think Tezos Israel is actually running a program as well, either today or in the next coming days, on how to create your own FA2 standard token. So maybe in the coming months, we see more tokens listed here, right?
Yeah. I guess my biggest question is, from like a developer standpoint, is it the learning curve switching from Solidity to Mickelson that could be a big barrier? And that's what I was trying to touch on with Vince. Is that a big barrier for a lot of these developers to kind of switch from ETH, over to that Tezos ecosystem? I have a curious question in that regards.
Yeah, that is a great question. Like, what is the root of the barrier here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talking to Om from Tezos India, he's the founder of Tezos India, he had explained that SmartPy is actually a compiler that's very similar to programming in Python, right? That compiles Python code down to Mickelson, right? So basically it allows for a very easy transition for people already familiar with Python, which is quite popular, to start coding on Tezos. And I think these compilers break that barrier that we're seeing. So it's got to be something else, right? Maybe it's just documentation around these compilers and it's not well known enough. And maybe it has something to do with the Tezos Foundation. Maybe people are looking to obtain funding before they start development. It's very interesting to see where the motives and incentives are in this ecosystem. And it's a case study in itself why it hasn't exploded with growth to this point. But, like everyone's been saying, it is a sleeping giant. So maybe we're just right around the corner, and 2021 is going to be the year we see this really take off.
For sure. I'm always excited to hear about the latest and greatest happenings inside the Tezos ecosystem. So 2021 should hopefully be very interesting.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have no more questions for the audience. It was a great show today. Guys, if you want to, keep interacting with us, reach out to us. Maybe we'll have you on the show, right? It's very easy for us to bring you on. So we like to feature the local community members. This is very much a community-driven show. We typically tend to cover Tezos on Tuesdays, but we're really open for any discussion, any topic that the audience wants to see. So give us feedback, share this video around, and make sure to comment, guys. Thank you so much for watching. For Benton, I'm Ken. Enjoy, guys. Until next time, take care.
Peace out.